we're moving right along. I hope you guys have been hydrating, stretching, taking notes, enjoying the information. We're going to continue the conversation that Dr. Lee started, make your voice heard, patient advocates. And again, a lot of people think, well, I haven't gone to Survivor school, so I can't be a patient advocate. That's not necessarily true. There are lots of ways that you can get information. Some people, we take note of how they're sharing and what they're doing. And these are three people right now that if you're not familiar with their name, you will be. They have definitely caught my attention and everyone on Team Survivor's attention just because of the way that they've been sharing their story. So I'm going to hand it over to Kimberly Williams, who is a cervical cancer survivor and a moderator, and just awesome, and can't wait to hear from her, Jen Myers, and Jody Matson. Thank you all.
Good afternoon, everybody. We are happy. I know Jody and Jen are. Again, I am Kimberly Williams. I'm going to be moderating this portion for you guys. I am a cervical cancer survivor. I was originally diagnosed in 2018. I had a radical hysterectomy, and after that, the doctor saw some cells outside of the tumor and said, hey, you may need some radiation and chemo. I had some issues with my insurance and wasn't able to get scans until 2019, believe it or not, almost a year later. And then I had a reoccurrence on the other side of where the tumor came out, and I ended up having radiation and chemo. And so I have been cancer-free since 2019, actually, at the end of December 2019. So I'm going to kick it over to Miss Jody. And if you could go ahead and kind of tell your story.
Hi. Today is actually 1 year out from the day that I found out that I had cancer, which was blowing my mind when I looked at the calendar. But I have stage 3C2 adenosquamous carcinoma. And I did 9 weeks of treatment last spring. I live in North Dakota, but I travel down to Omaha, Nebraska for my treatments. So it's about 10 hours every 3 weeks at this point. I did 9 weeks of radiation, external, internal, and cisplatin. And then I started my chemo cocktail in August. My blood was having a terrible time recovering, so I just switched over to immunotherapy, and I'm feeling wonderful, and I'm very excited. I have scans in March to see where that is, and I'm very excited. I'm hoping that it is reflecting how I feel out here. But I'm so stoked to be here.
I'm sorry, I was having a hard time unmuting myself. Ms. Jen, go ahead.
Thank you. My name is Jen Myers. I am a stage 4 metastatic cervical cancer patient. So I was first diagnosed in 2014, had a radical hysterectomy, 5 internal radiation, was cleared, was re-diagnosed in 2017, went through chemo and radiation, and that one was once again cleared. And less than a year later, it had metastasized into my lymphatic system. So at that point, I had left my oncologist through his encouraging to look at some alternative treatments, ended up at MD Anderson in Houston, Texas, and did some standard chemo, which was very hard on my body. So in August of 19, I started a clinical trial at MD Anderson, which I am still in today, which is a combination of immunotherapy and chemotherapy. I am from Pennsylvania, so like Jody, I do travel to my treatments. So, and thank you for having me.
Awesome, thank you both. So what we're talking about today is making your voice heard beyond your diagnosis. And I know one of the biggest things for me when I was diagnosed, I hear this all the time. I knew no one that had cervical cancer. So I felt like I was the only one in the United States and beyond that had cervical cancer. And so definitely I did some research, and I didn't see anything. And I don't know if you guys felt this as well. Like I didn't see anything online. It was nothing that was going to tell me anything. And so the first time I really didn't say much about cervical cancer. I was kind of quiet. When I had the reoccurrence is when I started being more boastful. And what I mean by that, I actually did like a vlog, maybe saying it wrong, of my journey through having my treatments, just so people could kind of see how it was going. And I was really loud on social media. And even now, like I probably talk about me being a cervical cancer survivor, or probably 2 to 3 times a week. I'm in social services. So I meet different people all the time. And that's something that I'm constantly saying, like I'm a cervical cancer survivor. I'm telling my friends, I'm on social media. So trust me, it's always something that I'm talking about. And I think making your voice heard is so needed, because it's great to have physicians that speak on our behalf and what they believe. But it's another thing to have a person that actually has walked in those shoes to be able to actually say, hey, I've gone through this, get this done, take care of you. So Miss Jody, what about you?
What kind of brought me into shouting my story? It all started as a blog because I honestly just didn't want to repeat the same thing 50 times to all my friends and family. Because, you see someone you haven't seen in forever. I don't live near my family. So every time I'd see anybody I knew, it was like, how are you doing? How is treatment? What's going on? And I was like, I'm going to cover everybody I know and then beyond. This is what's happening. And it kind of skyrocketed from there. And the reason why I kept it up and I started my separate Instagram for my Cancerverse is because I didn't see women going through, like I saw women advocating and telling their story, but it was after the fact. It was after they had gone through everything. I wasn't seeing stuff from people that are doing what Jen and I are doing. I don't see people in treatment, keeled over with chemo and just sitting in their bed for 3 days. Like I didn't see that, and I didn't see that represented. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to do this. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to do it because I wanted to see that. So I wanted to share that with other people.
I love that, because that was really why I did mine. It was really to show like there's the good, because you have those good days, but you have those days where it's very difficult. And people, a lot of times they're not seeing that part. So they're seeing us smile and, hey, we look great. But no, it's some bad days in there too. And we should be talking about all of it, the whole part. Because sometimes I feel like, okay, why didn't anybody tell me that this was going to happen?
Yep.
Hello. Okay, Jen.
Similar to both stories, I really didn't seek anything in my first 2 treatments. And it really wasn't until the pandemic, I had felt like, I had so many people to support me, and I still do. But once again, they weren't people necessarily with cancer. And if they did have cancer, I felt nobody in the world had cervical cancer but me. So because I never had interacted with anyone. So when the pandemic started, I was sequestered in Houston by myself in a hotel room to be able to continue my trial. And I got involved in online groups at MD Anderson. So that was kind of the first step of getting involved. But once again, my online groups, no one had cervical cancer, and not everybody was in treatment, like Jody said. So it was very helpful, and I'm still involved in those groups. I was actually in MD Anderson's annual report about them, but it wasn't quite what I was looking for. So I was able to do something called Cancer Connect at the social workers suggestion, which led me to Carol Lacey. And then Carol brought me into Survivor. And I felt like I found my people. I found people that understand, exactly what I'm going through, whether they have gone through it or they're currently going through it. So that has really opened up. And I took the first year and just absorbed it because that's kind of my personality. Because of cancer, I've left my job. I had a career in banking, and it was very busy. And I did a lot of, mentoring and training and leadership. And I did a lot of community work. And I just felt like all of that was just ripped away. And I wanted to find something out there that I could do for others and helping them understand, maybe I haven't gone exactly what you've gone through, but a lot of times I have, because I've been through this 3 times. And, and I'm really passionate about clinical trials because, I think there's such a misconception, and I wish I would have, the session, I wish I would have known. I wish I would have known about clinical trials. I do believe that, there's so much education for those. So that's another thing that I'm passionate about, is just helping people understand that you have to have your own choice, but at least have the education that I really was never given. Until I went to MD Anderson, I really wasn't given the emotional or the social support. It was more of the medical stuff. And I'll never forget my doctor saying, I'm not here just to fix you physically if emotionally you are broken. My job is to make sure you're all whole together. And that really resonated with me. And I think that's something that if your doctor's not saying it, then somebody like us needs to say that to you, to understand that that's just as important as your physical health. So that's why it's really important to me to advocate.
I absolutely love that, Jen. I love that. And I love your spirit. I love you. I love both of y'all. And I think that that's just like, it's so needed, for lack of better words. We're all kind of echoing the same thing, that it's like you felt like you were the only one. I know someone actually told me about Cervivor, and it helped me. It kind of motivated me, for lack of better words, to kind of open up my voice and say, like, I can do this. I can say something. For some reason in my mind, I wasn't as concerned about HPV. I don't normally kind of voice all my personal business, for lack of better words. I've gone through a whole bunch of stuff, and a lot of people don't even know, and this was something that I chose because I felt like maybe I can get someone to make a different decision, go get scans, something like that. Quick story, I was a director at one company, and I had a nurse that had not gone and had a PAP in 17 years. And not until I was diagnosed with cervical cancer and I told her, she was like, "Oh, I need to go." I'm like, but sometimes it takes people like us to just be shouting our stories for them to just make those differences. And say, like, what, let me go ahead and do something different. Let me go and take care of myself. And I know somebody said a little earlier, we as moms or women, we are the ones that just kind of choose to take care of everybody else. Even if you're not a parent, it's already innate. It's in you. You just want to take care of somebody else, even if it's your mother, your husband, your spouse, your partner, whatever. You're trying to take care of them and you're not taking care of yourself. So I think that that's a common practice. So us actually sharing kind of triggers that mind, like, hey, let's do something different. Jody, now you caught the eye of somebody. You did something, didn't you? What was it?
Did. I posted a reel the other day. I had a good laugh with Tamika about this because I just threw it together very last minute. And I had a pharmaceutical company reach out to her on behalf of that to try to get in contact with me to share with them with their in-person facility. They wanted to, have that shown in their waiting room. And I'm just like, okay. And like this whole week I've had this conundrum, like, oh my gosh, like this is happening. This is what I had in mind when I started doing this, because I wanted people to take notice. And I didn't want to feel, when I was diagnosed, I felt very isolated. And like, that's what my identity became. Like, I have cervical cancer. That's just what I am now. But I want people to know that it's so much more than that. And then they're picking this up to showcase to their people, their patients, their people, that we're all so much more than. I'm like, oh, good, okay. So that has been very interesting. Yes. It's definitely one of the highs in this journey.
I absolutely love it. So taking care of you in 2022. Did I say that correctly? I feel like I said it correctly. Okay, so what does that mean for you? We're going to ask everybody, but I want to ask you guys first. So what does that mean for you, Jody?
That means not doing everything myself and letting go of a little control. I have a little bit of control complex. Things need to be a certain way, but I'm letting go of that. And it's so much better for my mental health. Oh my goodness. Like, my laundry, I can wash 4 loads of laundry and not fold them and put them away in their exact spot, because it's going to save my mental health, and it's going to free up my mental load to put into other things that need attention. If that's taking care of myself by taking a bath, or snuggling with my kiddos, or getting outside and freezing my bum off, like, I know where I can let control up and give more attention to, and that is helping me out so much. And Survivor kind of kickstarted that, so I appreciate that.
I love it. So, Ms. Jen, what about you? What is it meaning to you?
You know, it's kind of on the same boat. You know, I have control issues as well. I think a lot of people do in this group, but, you know, I think it's looking at things that I don't have to do either today, or I don't have to do. Someone had made a recommendation sometime somewhere, and I can't remember, is surround yourself. You don't need 20 tuna casseroles brought to you, but do you have a group of friends that one's maybe really good at finances, and one's very good at organization, and one's very good at this and that? Because people do want to help you, and they say, what can you do to help? And I think sometimes as women are natural, oh, I'm okay, or, oh, whatever is fine, where, you know, they really want you to tell them what you need done. And whether that's, can you stop by and drop some things at the post office, because I just don't feel like going outside today because I'm not feeling well. Because it also takes some burden off your caretaker, which mine's my husband, you know, that they're not responsible for everything, because he, you know, he's also working a full-time job. So I think that, and then for myself personally, because I'm taking some of that burden off, I think it is just taking time to myself. It's okay if I just want to spend a day with my fur babies in bed watching Netflix, if that's what I need mentally. And that's hard for me to do. And I'm trying to work on slowing my life down and doing things and savoring the moments that I just need a break. And I think that that's huge.
I love it. So clearly, Tamika did a great job putting us together, because we're the trio that likes to be in control. We're the control trio. We're gonna have to get t-shirts. We'll have Survivor on it, but then control trio on the back. So
you better make sure it's approved by Carol trademark.
No, I'm saying, like, we'll have y'all's.
I'm joking, but I know Carol's writing a note.
I am. I was like, get the trio on the back. Okay. So you guys in the, can I say audience? What are some of the things that you guys are doing for taking care of you 2022? I keep feeling like I'm saying it wrong, but if you guys want to speak up, turn your cameras on and let us know what are some things that you're doing to make your voice heard, and then also just taking care of yourself in this year.
Okay, I'll speak up. Hi, everybody. You three, Jen, Jody, and Kimberly. Thank you. Inspiring, beautiful. I had some tears, but Kimberly, it hit me. I had the same situation, speaking with someone in the medical facility who had been over 10 years without having her annual exam. And it just blows my mind, mainly because I was a year to date almost on my exams. So it's really hard to hear that and not showing that judgment on your face, because sometimes you don't have to say anything. It just comes out on your face. And it's like, okay. And woo, it's like, okay, well, don't you think it's time? I wouldn't want to see you go through what I'm going through. And so that hurts. But taking care of me for 2022, we're rewiring my brain, doing brain therapy, sitting in a harmonic egg, learning how to do more mindfulness, meditating. It's working. My speech is now becoming more clear. Thoughts are more clear. still having some issues, but eventually they'll wiggle out. But taking care of me, more of my environment, what's around me, cleaning house, physically and mentally. And that's what I'm doing for 2022. And thank you. You guys are awesome. And I see you on Facebook and everything. And keep up the great work, because I hear your message.
Thank you, Miss Lori. You know what? I loved, actually, when I saw the first time I saw the theme, I got so excited because I was like, this is something that it's something attainable, right? But it's something that I really need to do, like, just period. I need to take care of myself because, you know, like I said, as women, we just tend to kind of look to help everybody else. So I actually love the theme. Did you have something, Jody?
Sometimes you need that permission. Like, I know I needed someone to be like,
Yeah,
it is fine to take care of yourself. Like, and you know, in the back of your head, like, okay, I need to do this. But if you have some bald-headed in your face lady saying, take care of yourself, it's a little easier to be like, okay, I can do this for her. If you do it for someone else, it's fine. You're still doing it.
Jody, I agree with that so much. Sorry, Kimberly. I just wanted to say, so in planning this summit, I had to remind Morgan, step away from the computer. She had to remind me, get some sleep. And then literally my husband every day, he's just like, you got to go outside. You got to go outside. I'm like, it's too cold. But one of the things Morgan will tell you, I committed to this past week was, even if I couldn't get away for a walk, I had to go outside, even in the cold, and just stand in the sun. If the sun was out, I had to go outside. So the sun came out a little while ago. So on one of the breaks, I went and opened the door and just stood there really quickly. But it really took my best friend, my husband, Morgan, everyone pushing me, because if not, I would have been working around the clock. And no, that does not mean that you should email me and expect a response, because I'm working on my self-care and taking care of me in 2022. But yes, you have to work on it. And unfortunately, sometimes we need push and permission, but we have to also start doing it for ourselves.
I love that. I think one of the things I actually did was penciled myself in, if that makes sense. So if you have like a to-do list, I penciled time in for me. It's Kim time. I need some time. Love it. So did anybody else want to share what you're doing for advocacy and how you're advocating for yourself, or what you're doing this year?
I will say, for me to advocate for myself, I look forward to spring, summer, and fall, because I go to the lake, and seriously, there are days that I just stare at the clouds, and I actually enjoy when I go down there and no one's there. I don't have to talk to anybody. I get to do arts and crafts and silly stuff.
I love it. Miss Lori?
You know, when we were talking, one of the first things we were talking about is sharing your voice and doing for you. When I first shared my story about HPV, that was 1991. I was not even 20 yet when I was treated for high-grade precancer. So I spoke about it when I turned 20, and I had no audience, because any medical book you looked up seemed to identify patients like us as people who, you know, were overly sexualized. And so I didn't have a community for over 20 odd years because of that. So it wasn't until about 2014 when that came back, when that HPV came back and became active, that I started again. So having this opportunity through Cervivor, everybody realizes just how fortunate we are to make our voices even more powerful, and that doing, you know, taking care of you in 2022 is the fact that we can now shout it from the rooftops and not feel ashamed, because we have the science behind us, we have a community behind us. We're more empowered now than ever. And when I juxtapose those 2 years, 1991 when I was practically a baby. And now I wish so much, too much that I can't even articulate. So I just want everybody to know how loaded we are with information, and our stories alone. We can change one person's life, and that's enough.
Thank you, Miss Lori. Yvette?
Hi, I won't take a lot of time because I am going to be speaking later, but hi everyone. You guys are all amazing and I'm so happy to be a part of this group. But something that I had done was I really pushed cervical cancer awareness month at my job. So I had already shared, on Facebook that I had done these little bags with pins, but I tailored the message for these Fight Like a Girl bands, and I also got more pins. And so I talked about myself and that they could go on Survivor to make donations, to get information about HPV. And I'm going to start carrying them with me because I plan to give them to all the women at my nail salon. And then I didn't bring them with me, and I went to the bank and there were like 3 women there, and then I wish I had them with me to just like, hey, here you go, just read this. It's Cervical Cancer Awareness Month, and just to give it out to people. You don't realize, and I love that we have this month because it puts it in the forefront of your mind. And as you're going through your regular daily routine, you see how many women you come in contact with and how many opportunities you have to bring this to their mind. Just a little something, just a little pin that was mentioned earlier, somebody asking a question. And they don't even have to answer a question and have an awkward conversation. They can just take a little gift from you and maybe read it later when they're more comfortable. So that's what I've been trying to do.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. Well, I think we have hit our time, guys. But thank you so much for the opportunity to let us share, Miss Tamika, because you are awesome, amazing, and fantastic, and we appreciate you. But it was awesome this was awesome. Oh, and you're taking that well. I see.
Can you tell I just like chugged some coffee? No, I appreciate it. This was such a great panel, and you guys, I'm just so proud of you all. I'm proud of this community. Happy 1-year cancerversary, Jody. I mean, this is what it's all about: the connection, the sharing, the making sure that no one absolutely feels alone.